Hi, YouTubers out there. Just wanted to put a little video together of my John Deere 1025R backhoe loader. It's 2017. I've had it for about a year, and just wanted to tell you some of the pros and cons that I've found. With the tractor, I'm just going to move around. Sorry, it's a little dirty. I was working for several hours yesterday, and it started raining, so I ran the tractor back into the garage because then I noticed I didn't get rid of all the material in my bucket, but that's no big deal. That'll sweep up. So I just wanted to give you a little history while I walk around the tractor of a couple different things. With my history of why I chose this tractor and the advantages and disadvantages of owning a subcompact. I got like 4 acres up here in upstate New York, and I needed something to basically clear some land with some stumps with a chainsaw and basically get some stumps out and stuff. So that's kind of why I needed the tractor. With that being said, I did look at several other brands, Kubota and some of the other subcompacts, but I did have a history with John Deere, and I've had some really good luck. I'll talk about that here in a second. I do have a little small garden tractor over here, but I also had one of the biggest reasons why I chose John Deere is there's basically 2 things. Lindsay Equipment here in upstate New York has been excellent to deal with. They had great reviews, and I talked to a couple different people, and really nice guys, plus they're a mile and a half from my house, so that was huge. As I said, I had a 1988 John Deere 322 tractor. It's still running. It still runs great. It's got the same Yarmar diesel engine, which I absolutely love. That one's a diesel block, but it's actually a gas tractor. So I'm familiar with the Yarmars. They run excellent, obviously. That thing's been used quite a bit from 1988, and it still runs great. So that was a huge selling point for the John Deeres. Anyways, but I also had I think it was a 1981 John Deere 410 construction backhoe. They're a 13-ton backhoe, and obviously there's a lot more lifting capacity and things like that, bucket capacity and everything, power obviously with a 410 backhoe of that size. But I've also found out that maintaining an older machine like that with the hydraulic fluids and everything else, everything basically leaked and you had to refill the oils. This thing doesn't leak whatsoever. I have 95 hours on it now, and I'm pretty used to the tractor with the inner workings of everything, and the owner's manual is excellent too. So that's kind of why I chose John Deere. I'll get into a couple different things. Like I said, I'm making this video because I didn't really see anything that I was interested in on specific things for what I was going to use it for, but I added this BX, I think it was a BX tooth bar. These are great, basically for clearing brush or anything like that. They're very sharp, so be careful around it. I do have a couple scars on my calves from accidentally backing into it. But a tractor of this size, I would highly recommend it. I think it was only, I don't know, maybe a couple $100. It's just 2 bolts, basically, that go in on each side. You can't see that one because the dirt's in there, but it's basically the same thing, held on with a nut on the outside. The kit that I bought gives you the drill. You can take it off in the wintertime if you want to run or scoop snow or something like that. It's very simple. You basically just take off those nuts, pull out the bolts, and the tooth bar just basically slides back towards the front of the tractor. Very simple. Like I said, highly recommended. There's a couple things that I did find on here that I did have to do. These 3 bolts here, there's 3 on the other side. They did loosen up a little bit, so it does say in the owner's manual under routine maintenance to torque them. I'd highly recommend that. You'll spend 2 minutes on it, and it's very simple. I don't remember what the size was, but I believe the manual tells you. The loader part, or the backhoe part, excuse me, A couple things. I've had it off a couple different times. I have a box blade. I use a 4-foot box blade, by the way. So anybody that's looking for a box blade, I went down to the Tractor Supply and actually ordered it through Tractor Supply. It's a 4-foot one, and it's red, and that seems to do great. I have a lot of trails and a gravel driveway. I've heard people say that, you know, use the 5-foot or whatever. For what I have up here in upstate New York, it's a lot of clay and things. So I wanted to have something that was possibly a little smaller. I haven't had an issue with it covering the tires or anything else, and it seems to be made very sturdy. And you know, I'm very happy with it, actually. I'm glad I didn't go with a 5-foot, because basically the one that I have will basically stop the tractor if you get into something deep. Anyways, I have pulled the backhoe out, the backhoe part off to put the box blade on. It's actually pretty easy once you do it a couple times. There's a couple lines here that you need to detach. But if I was going to suggest something to you, again, sorry how dirty it is. I was working quite a bit yesterday, but I would do it in your garage or on something even as far as the ground when you put it down. The first time I took it off, it came off no problem on uneven ground, but getting it back on uneven ground was a little bit difficult. I can kind of show you down here. There's a couple little, I'm not sure how good you guys can see that, but right there, basically you back the tractor in once you get it to the right height, and it just basically locks in. You can't have it too high, too low. You just got to have it at the right height on both sides. So that's why I say with the ground, being even is a huge advantage. The only other thing is when I first got the tractor, try to get down there. Sorry about the lighting a little bit, but back here by the pumpkin, I'm not sure how good you can see it, but there's a couple wires up there, and you should be able to see it. It's a group of wires. I had the tractor for about 2 hours, excuse me, and there was a stick sticking up. And basically, those wires were down enough where the stick actually grabbed the wires out with the transmission, and it basically shut the tractor off. It wouldn't let me do the shift into neutral. Again, the dealership's been excellent. Even though it was my fault, they came, picked up the tractor, they repaired it for free. I didn't really advertise the fact that it was my fault. I'm sure they knew, but the important part is that they didn't charge me. So, you know, it wasn't, I don't think it was a very expensive fix, but kind of sucked because I waited to get the tractor, and then 2 hours later, I'm without a tractor for a day or two. So, so that was one of the other big things. The other thing about subcompacts is obviously, you know, they're a lot more narrow and with the stance on there. You know, I think you got to be conscious on uneven ground that, you know, it's a little tippy. You got the roll bar on there, obviously. Use your roll bar, you know, be safe, be smart. But the small front tires get sucked up pretty easy. You know, if you got something small like that, you'll notice it gets really tippy, because when you actually sit on it, and you can probably see here, it's narrow and high. That was one of the things that I do have to be very conscious about where I live. One of the reviews on YouTube, I saw the guy had a lot of negative reviews about this tractor. They talked about the bucket capacity. This is what I'll tell you. I think it's rated for 1,700 pounds, and I haven't had anything in there from rocks to gravel to dirt to clay, anything else where this thing has had any problem whatsoever picking up when I basically had the bucket pretty much overloaded as far as power picking it up. And you don't even have to really run the RPMs up to give you that little extra boost on there. No problems whatsoever picking up at least 1,700 pounds. And that was one of the other big things of going with John Deere. They definitely had the best lifting capacity of any of the tractors. So anyway, in a nutshell, I'm very, very happy with the tractor. There's pros and cons to every tractor or backhoe combination. And it depends on what you want to do. Like I said, I have about 4 acres here. I've cleared almost a football field of pretty good stumps and things like that. And I'm very happy with the tractor. I think that I paid around $28 for the oil change kit and a tube of grease. It was all John Deere stuff. which I was shocked how cheap that was. You know, everybody knows, you know, Harley and John Deere sometimes can charge a little bit more to run their particular brands, but this actually is, I think, very cheap for the oil change kit and everything I've seen, as opposed to my 1982 John Deere 410 construction backhoe, which, you know, pretty much everything was extremely expensive to do anything, maintenance on that. And obviously, you know, when you have that many hours in that old of a tractor, you're going to need to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little quick review. Very happy with the tractor. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, I just wanted to put this together because I was looking for something where a homeowner had a little bit more opinions on some of the things to look for and look out for with the tractor. Oh, the only other thing I'll tell you is this is kind of, you know, for people that have uneven ground, but I had to do some stuff with the seat belts. I basically took these and bent them down towards the frame a little bit, because when you swivel the seat, they can kind of get in the way. And I also loosened the bolt on the seat belt on both sides so that they're out of the way when you do swivel it. It can be a little tight getting into the backhoe, but if you do that, if you bend those down and loosen those bolts so that those things come down, that seat slides pretty easily. So like I said, anyways, I just wanted to give a little quick review of the tractor, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.